actually going to do simple stamping tonight. And simple stamping is really when we're trying to limit ourselves to stamps, ink, and paper. I'm going to cheat just a little bit on the end with the greeting, but you wouldn't have to. But let's go ahead and get started. One sheet wonder, that is what this technique is called. And so you can start with a full sheet of cardstock. I'm not going to tonight because a full sheet of cardstock would take a little bit of time to color in, and I don't want to take up your whole evening. So I'm going to just get some of this out of the way. I'm going to start with a half sheet of cardstock. The same principle applies. So basically what we're doing is, so here is some paper from Celebration, and it's designer series paper. It's got a lot of images. It's very pretty. And all you need to do to use this is chop it up into the sizes that you want and arrange it on a card. Maybe add a sentiment. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to create our own designer series paper. And this is a little bit more intensive than most designer series paper that you will create with this technique, because there is multiple steps to coloring these butterflies. But the thing about these butterflies is they're just pretty. They're beautiful. So I'm going to ink up my stamp in Memento Black, and I'm going to just stamp it down on my Whisper White. Oh, sorry, it's not called Whisper White anymore. It's Basic White cardstock. Come in and do it again. And all I'm doing is filling this up. Now you could keep this black and white and have a very nice image as well. You know, black and white can sometimes be very striking. Maybe you would just add a little bit of color to, you know, one or more items. Now here I'm coming in and I'm going to actually turn my stamp a little bit to fill in some white space. And I will do that across the page. And this stamp set actually comes with some another little stamp, another little leaf stamp that will allow you to fill some space in as well, in case you get some more space that you didn't really intend to have. So now maybe I'll come in this way. I'm doing actually a pretty good job of filling up the space. So you just keep stamping until the whole thing is filled up. Oh, you know what I meant to do? I meant to ink up my, or to add some water to my cleaner, my chamois, but I forgot. So let me move this white piece out just so you can get an idea. So there it is in black and white. It's kind of nice just in black and white, I think. But I do see a couple of spots maybe where I might want to add another little something something. Honestly, I probably don't need to, but to show you what I mean, I'm going to. So if I just run my eyes over this quickly, I see, you know, a bunch of white space there and some here. Maybe a little bit here. It's okay to have some white space though, so don't be afraid of it. But I just wanted to show you what I meant by filling things in. Oh, and maybe another one right here. If I do that right here, I know I'm going to stamp on my pad, so let's just like that. So quick and easy. All right, so now it's done. I can put my Memento Black away because I'm done using that. And I just want to clean off my stamp. I'll have to get my non-Stampin' Chamois out. I'll get my Stampin' Mist out instead and use that. Clean both of my stamps. This stamp has actually stayed on my block all week because I've stamped with it a couple times. like, oh, why unmount it? I'm just going to use it again. It's not like a lot of stamps use that big block either. So now what I want to do is I want to color this in. And again, I can use my blends. If you're somebody who really loves to color, you can, and you have a lot more options for variety if you do it that way. But I am going to actually take, and in here there is a bold stamp, and then there's a detail stamp for the same butterfly. So I'm going to add those to my blocks. And I'm going to get some coordinating colors of ink. So for this big butterfly, I'm going to use Mango Melody and Pumpkin Pie. So I'm going to start with the non-detailed one first. I'm just going to, oops, I've been playing with this stamp so much that it's lost its stickiness a little bit. Now, how do you get the stickiness back, or how do you get it to adhere a little bit better? You actually run it under water. That's what I do when mine starts to lose its stickiness. So now I'm just going to, and again, I'm not putting my head right over it because then all you would see is my head. So it may not be exactly within the lines all the time. I'm okay with that. I hope you are too. If it were a watercolor look, then that's what we'd be going for anyway. So even the Mango Melody, this looks so pretty in person. And when my ink pad is worn, like I've been stamping a little bit more in the middle, so some of it's a little bit lighter than in other places. Like it's light here and it's a little bit darker here. I think that really adds a nice look to this little butterfly. So here's a case where you could actually just do one butterfly and leave the rest black and white. And it would look really pretty. I really love this look. Now I'm trying to think about that stamp right there. I think that's this butterfly. So I think I've got all the big ones done. With the exception of right over here, this little wing. That's a little wing. And I think that's it. Sometimes I have to go back in later and figure out, oh, I missed some. That's what happens when you have a lot going on. If this were not one big stamp that I just stamped repeatedly, I would probably just start with one butterfly at a time, color them in, and then do the rest. So now I'm going to use my pumpkin pie. And this is the detail for the butterfly. And this one would look a lot better if I could get my head in the way, probably. But you see how it just adds a little bit of shading in here, put some spots on the wings. I did one of these earlier, and one of my butterflies I forgot to add stuff to. It's okay, it still looked okay. Only you know when you mess up. Well, that's not entirely true. Sometimes everybody knows. Kind of depends on how badly you mess up, I think. So there are all my mango butterflies. That wasn't too bad. It wasn't too hard, right? So I'm just going to clean these stamps because I do need to free up my blocks. Lots of butterflies in here. I'm not going to take the time to put my butterflies away though, because I'll just never get done this video. That's the case. So now I need to get out one of the other butterflies. So I'm going to take this little detail, and where's his coordinating base? Right there. So for this one, I have decided to use, what have I decided to use? Oh, Bermuda Bay and Pretty Peacock. So that's kind of dark, but I really, really wanted a very bright and bold card. So I chose some bright and bold colors. So that's this little guy right here. So we're just going to stamp all of these guys. Oops, I missed that one. Talking too much. Sometimes that's a problem for me. As any of you that have been around me a lot know. All right, so we're just filling in all the ones that look like this. And the only one I have to really pay attention to is around the edges. Did I get them all around the edges? I think so. I think the only ones left are the other one. So I'm going to take the detail ink one, and it's really going to be quite a bit darker. What's nice about this is, I mean, this looks a lot more like a moth. Let me hold it up so you can see a little bit better. I have to wait for my Facebook to catch up to me. So you can see a lot more detail in here. Looks a little bit more like a moth to me. And when you're stamping this, the detail has that center line of the butterfly, so it helps you to line things up. It really is a pretty easy set to use. And even if you're off a little bit, it's okay. It still looks great. Nobody is going to scrutinize about how perfect or not perfect your butterfly is. Or they shouldn't if they're getting a nice homemade card from you anyway. That's my opinion. So there, all of those have had their detail added. Now sometimes if I'm stamping this stuff and I want to make sure that I'm not forgetting any of them, I'll count how many butterflies I do and then make sure for the second round I come out with the same number. But that only works if you don't get distracted when you're counting. And sometimes that does happen to me. So now I'm going to take the last little butterfly that we have here, and I'm going to, my blocks are pretty dirty too. I should probably give those a little wash as well. My last two colors are Flirty Flamingo and Melon Mambo. And to be honest, I'm going to stick with a Flirty Flamingo, I guess. I was going to look at my sample cards, but yeah, I think I'm going to show you an alternate plan here. So instead of, this takes a little bit more work though. Instead of using two different colors, I'm going to use the same color, but I'm going to use second generation stamping. So first generation stamping, let's even do it in reverse order. This is the detail for that butterfly that's left. And so you just put it on there. And this one is just a really, the detail is very slight. And honestly, I don't pay attention enough to line it up perfectly. I'm pretty sure it's probably supposed to go more like that. Oh yeah, look at that. I finally figured it out, I think. So more of it shows up. That's on the edge, so let's see. That would go like this. So when you vary the direction of your stamp, then that means you probably have to vary the direction of your paper when you're stamping those butterflies, coloring them in. All right, I think I got all those butterflies. So you don't have to do the solid one first. You can do the other one. But now to put this one over, I don't really want to have the same color over it because they're going to be too close. So what you can do is stamp off, and then you'll get a lighter color to fill in. So you can still see that you've got the stronger one, and then you've just got it a little bit lighter. So this is called second generation stamping. Oh, I missed that one a little bit because I was not enough over it, not paying attention, talking too much. Oops, one more. It really is funny how it's easy to miss things, and then when it's all done, then you see that you missed them. But so there's my pink butterfly. I actually like that better than the sample that I gave you. I'm not going to show you the sample right yet though, because that'll spoil the effect at the end. So you'll just have to wait patiently. One thing I'd like to point out too is you may notice that some of your photopolymer colors don't clean off as nicely, and pink and red is one of those. It just seems to stick around, and it's okay. It's not going to come off. It does stain your stamps, but no worries, because it's not going to come off when you stamp in another color if you've cleaned it. It's just, that's the way it goes. It just stains your stamps. So now there are a couple of leaf. Now the leaf ones aren't two-step, so you're only going to be adding the color once to each set of leaves. All right, I think I have them all. Pretty sure I have them all. So this, let me move this out of the way so you get the full effect. This is your one sheet wonder. Now I could actually make this into a card. I mean, I could fold it in half. The front and the back would be the card. But what I'm going to do is what I would do with some designer series paper. I might cut this up. So I'm going to cut this up as a card front layer. So that would be 4 inches by 5 1/4, typically what I do. So I've got that done. I happen to have a piece of black cardstock, and you saw that I had that earlier. And this is already scored, so I'm going to just fold that in half. And so I put this on, and that's done. Now granted, this is a little bit harder than, if you just have some designer series paper kicking around, when Stampin' Up! Makes it, it's all very pretty, but it's not quite as personalized, and this way you can do it in people's favorite colors. If you're doing it for a wedding card, you could make it in the wedding colors. But sometimes it's just fun to make it yourself. So there is the card front. And I could, let's see, I need an inside, so I'm just going to quickly off to the side. I'm cutting an inside layer. That's about that same measurement. And that piece that I trimmed off, I could add in here, just as a little accent. I could put a bigger accent. I could actually, if you want to see what's in the dies, the coordinating dies, they're called fluttering dies. It actually comes with 2 of these, and this cuts out that one big stamp. So if I showed you that card that I initially put up for you, that was just one stamp, one cutout. And it's not individual pieces. This is actually joined in here. There are holes, but it's joined in there. So that will cut that out. You can stamp a couple of these at a time, and run it through with one pass because you've got two of those. But there are also some outlines of the individual butterflies. There's also one that will put in some detail. So if you wanted to just do regular cardstock, the leaves are here that you can cut out with. And then there's a frame, and I'll show you that in a second. So you could cut out an individual butterfly from, say, you know, this leftover piece and stick that on the inside as well. I'm not going to, because that'll take a little bit too much time for me right now. I'm just going to take this little piece because, hey, I took the time to color this baby. Let's not waste it. And then I would just add this to the inside of my card. So there's the inside of my card. And we just need a sentiment on the outside. I think I got this crooked, but it's too late now. So we just need a sentiment out here. And this is where I'm going to cheat a little bit. I said that we were just going to be doing stamps, ink, and paper. Well, I'm going to bring in a little bit of embossing. I think embossing is one of those things that should be in everybody's arsenal anyway. Embossing really makes a card, and it doesn't take much extra stuff. It just takes some powder and a heat tool and Versamark. Now I'll tell you a story. When I first started stamping, I was single and I was a teacher. I had zero money, and I don't even know how I was introduced to stamping. If I just saw it somewhere, I'm not sure. So I went out to a craft store and I got some supplies. Well, I didn't have a heat tool. So I actually embossed things over my stove burner. And I was a class advisor at the time. And so I made a card for every single one of the graduates at Wells High School that year. Just congratulating them and, you know, writing a personal note on it. It was not long before I went out and got a heat tool, because using the burner, it's not fun, and it's not good on your hands, and it's not good on the paper. So sometimes saving up for something is definitely worth it. You might think it's a big investment at the time, but it really pays off in other ways. So I'm going to get my Versamark card out, and I need a sentiment. And so I'm going to bring in Happy Thoughts. And I'm going to use the thank you sentiment that is in Happy Thoughts. Let me move that out of the way. I'm going to try to get this straight. Yeah, not bad. I'll have to cut it in just a minute, but so you've got your Versamark, and Versamark stays wet longer so that you can take your powder. Now you want to try to avoid touching the card near my words. And if you've got some strays, you can clean it off with a little paintbrush. I'll take care of that a little bit later. Here's my heat tool. Just wait until you see it start to get shiny. It's starting to pop, I see. So I move it along. It's all melted, and now it's done. So now I just need to trim this piece. Now, I could have trimmed it to the right size beforehand. The reason why I didn't is because I find with littler pieces, it's sometimes hard to get things straight. So, not that it's always easy with this size either. And I think this is going to be about right. So that looks pretty good. I'm just going to bring my card back here. And I want to probably cut it off about here, so I'm just going to take my paper trimmer. I know, sorry, I'm doing it off camera. See, now I've got it like that. And I'm going to flag this other end. So I'm just going to bring my paper snips in. And when I flag, just cut down the center, and then I cut from the corners right to that center strip. And pop this up on dimensionals. And good to go. So I used a really big piece of my paper here because I made it the whole card front. There we go. There, we're done. Oh, I might as well take one of these sayings here. Let's see. The little, I'm trying to find, I think it's this one. So this stamp says, "The little things you do so well and so often make a big difference to so many people." I'm going to take one of the colors that I had stamped with. I think I'm going to take that Bermuda Bay, which is one of my favorite colors. I usually like this stamp going the other way, but I didn't really think ahead that well. So there's my finished card. And I still have all this left to play with. Now, you don't have to do this. You can do something like this. So I just cut up basically I took probably a 4" by 2.5" strip and cut it in two so that it's 2 by 2.5 and 2 by 2.5. And I put them in opposite corners. Oh, this is upside down, sorry. Opposite corners onto a piece of Mango Melody cardstock that I had stamped randomly "Happy Birthday" in the background. And this sentiment is from the Punch Party, which was a celebration set as well. And just added a little bit of bling, because why not? And here's another one that I did. Just used a strip of this paper that we made. Just cut a strip 4" by, looks like, I don't know, 1 1/4 inches, 1.5 inches. Matted it with black. I put it on a piece of Mango Melody that was 4 by 5 1/4 that I'd run through the painted texture embossing folder. This one was so popular it was on back order. If it's not off back order now, I think it's coming off back order soon. This is the frame that was in the Fluttering die set. See, here's the frame. And I had just cut out one of those little butterflies and added it up here. And of course, he's got a little bling on him. Put a strip along the bottom. So those are just some things you can do. If you search on Pinterest One Sheet Wonder, you'll see a whole lot of different layouts that you can use with one sheet of cardstock.